So the city of Grand Rapids has had the worst air quality in the country this week. And we know that we have experienced dryness. 4th of July weekend is coming up, and a lot of people like to start, turning on fireworks and celebrating in that matter. But I think as a city, we have to take some precautions. So to speak about this, I do have Allison Paroli here from the city of Grand Rapids to kind of just raise awareness and let the community know about some of the precautions that we should take during this holiday weekend. Thank you for joining us and thank you so much for your time here.
Of course, yes, thank you. Yeah, unfortunately, this week has definitely been an interesting one, facing I guess, a new situation that we haven't faced with in a very long time. We haven't had this bad of air quality since, from what I understand, the 80s. And this is due to the wildfires that have been occurring over the last month or so up in Canada. And with the recent wind movements this week, and there's fires up in the Ottawa area, which is closer to Michigan. This has been bringing a lot of that smoke over the Grand Rapids area. And as mentioned, yes, we've Grand Rapids, Michigan, Chicago area has been facing the worst air quality in the country this week. And it's been quite fascinating to watch the movement of the air and what this does. And so one thing that I think we've all been changing in our my routine is taking a moment to not only check the weather, but to understand that that haziness that we first started seeing on Tuesday wasn't due to fog. It was definitely smoke in the air. And it's very important for us as a community to take this seriously. We may think that it's going to not do much to us, but the levels we were seeing today were in the very unhealthy range. Which is what they would consider the purple. So there's colors associated to this, similar to how any type of other weather alerts look like. So this week we were definitely sitting a lot in the very unhealthy and then unhealthy ranges of pretty much all the way up through this morning. And what that does is it's called the Air Quality Index, or AQI. And that's really where they're looking at the index level and the parts per million of the particles. And so they're very tiny. And when we inhale them, they can really impact our lungs and our bodies. And so there's usually when we have elevated air quality, the advice is for those that are considered sensitive. So those with asthma, or are elderly or have any other type of serious health conditions, to take this seriously. But the ranges we were seeing this week were definitely impacting and very hazardous to everybody. So it's really important for us to really take this into consideration.
Yeah, I was reading that I believe the people that are 65 and older and children, and like you mentioned, those that have asthma, bronchitis, or any lung and heart problems, they're the ones that are mostly affected. But like you mentioned, everybody should take precaution. We don't really know how we're going to react. Like you mentioned, it's been a long time since this has happened. So I know that we have been advised to stay inside, reschedule our activities from outdoors into indoors. So those are just a few precautions that we should take. But 4th of July is coming up, and a lot of people like to be outside. They like to turn on their fireworks. Is that something that the community should do, like turn on fireworks and do their barbecues, or is it preferable to not do that?
I think the first thing that we all need to do going into the holiday weekend and early next week is to take time to go to airnow.gov, which is a web page that provides us, it's through the EPA, so the Environmental Protection Agency at the federal level. They partner with Eagle here in Michigan in providing data on our air quality levels, and they give an update every hour on where we are sitting. So I think it would be wise for everyone as we move through the weekend and early next week to, as you start your day, go in and check the air quality and what the levels look like at that time. And then also I would probably check it morning, afternoon, and evening, because it does change depending on the wind patterns. So I would say adding that to our routines this weekend so that we can make effective decisions to keep ourselves safe. I will say that this morning and currently we have our air quality is very much improved in comparison where we were all week. So we are in what's considered the yellow level or moderate. So the impacts right now are very much for those that are considered very sensitive. So those with asthmatic issues or other issues like that. So we're sitting in a pretty good range. So with that, even if we move up into a higher level of air quality, I wouldn't, there really is no connection at this point that using fireworks or barbecuing or enjoying a weekend will really increase the impact of the air quality. But I will say that if we do start seeing the ranges that go back into that unhealthy or very unhealthy range, if you stay outdoors for a long period of time, you might start feeling the impacts of that smoke, to where you're going to start coughing or wheezing,
Mhm.
or feeling a little bit more congested. So um, if we start seeing increases again, recommend just maybe adjusting your schedule outside and coming indoors for a few hours, taking breaks, really watching how we are moving and not doing full blown exercise outside when the levels are pretty high. But I wouldn't say that we need to change our schedule at all. I think it's just a matter of keeping an eye on the levels and just making effective decisions for yourself as an individual of what makes sense for you and your family and friends.
Okay. You did speak about the updates that we've been having. For those that have been keeping track of that, I believe our latest one has been for Sunday at 12 a.m. Um, this has been changing. It has been increasing. Is there a reason why it has been changing so frequently? Is it because it's getting worse, even though we're seeing that it's getting better, or when would you expect for this air quality situation to kind of end?
So I believe you're referencing the air quality alerts that are going out. The National Weather Service is continuing to expand those because we are anticipating us to not be in a good or green air quality level this weekend, which does not mean that we need to make major adjustments like we are, like today's level is pretty okay in comparison. They're adjusting that to really get folks to remind them that we are still not in the healthiest of air qualities and to continue to keep an eye on that. Yesterday, Eagle pushed out some information about what their analysis was looking like in regards to, do we expect this to go away anytime soon? And unfortunately, from what we and they are seeing with the wildfires up in Canada, these fires have been continuing to grow and expand across the country up there. So they are anticipating air quality issues probably to happen all summer. Hopefully, we don't get into as bad of levels as we were seeing earlier this week, but we may need to really keep eyes on the air quality index
Mhm.
throughout the summer so we can make solid decisions.
Yeah.
And this also, yesterday we were seeing a southerly wind movement. So we had some good air below us that helped move in some cleaner air up towards us last night. And also with those storms really helped get that movement going. But today we're going to start seeing a wind shift again, where we'll start seeing the wind moving from the west. And that may bring some of the lower air quality that's sitting over Wisconsin and that area over to us. It could happen. It's all really about the air movement, unfortunately, and how the air is moving and what the air quality looks like from those areas.
Yeah, and you mentioned the thunderstorms, and I just wanted to kind of let the community know. We woke up today, we saw lots of fog, but because of the air quality, we weren't sure if it was the air quality or if it was the fog. What would you probably say it was mainly?
Yeah, definitely. It was fog this morning, and so there was a lot of confusion, right? Kind of looked like what it looked like, at least for me on Tuesday morning when I woke up, and I was like, "Oh, thinking it's fog." In reality, that was smoke.
Yeah.
Again, it's really important for us to understand that we need to take a step back and really look at the weather report, so that we know what weather to expect and what is exactly that's happening outside, and to add a new step to that routine and check our air quality issues as well. The National Weather Service does push out that information as well, so that information can be found all in the same location. So your weather apps that you use to check the weather in the mornings should be talking about the air quality as well, and being able to tell you if that's fog or if it's smoke. So just making sure that, again, we really take action and understanding what is happening outside, because those tools are there for us to help us make decisions, right?
Yeah. I believe the other thing that the city has been experiencing has been some dryness. We did get some alerts about that a couple weeks ago too. Just making sure about our plants, our trees, and a little bit of all that stuff. How are we doing so far with the dryness? Like, has that affected us with the smoke that has been coming from Canada?
Yeah, so definitely June has been a very dry, warm month, which if you are a late goer, it's probably been exciting, but it has really been impactful on the agricultural side of things. Everything's kind of brown, but what we've had a little bit of rain, but not enough, right? We still are kind of seeing a little bit of a drought discussion. And it's so with the weekend and the use of fireworks and barbecuing, we need to keep that in mind, right? Things are still dry, and it's still dangerous to if we shoot off fireworks, and making sure we're taking precautions to protect ourselves and the environment around us. So if you are doing that, making sure that you are not in dry vegetation, you're far away from a home or any type of structure, so that we don't start any fires. I know that every year there's usually some type of porch fire or house fire due to fireworks or barbecuing and things like that. So making sure that we are being smart about our actions, not barbecuing on our back decks or having open flames. Any of our fire pits should be out in a open area, so we're not close to structures. Also, make sure we have that fire in a well-contained environment, so it doesn't start or expand the fire and outside of that fire pit. And again, making sure that we are being smart about any fireworks we are using, protecting ourselves, that we don't create any injuries. So even though we've had a little bit of rain and some thunderstorms over last night or even earlier this week, does not mean that we're out of the danger zone when it comes to the dryness. And it's very important for us to keep that in mind as well.
Yeah. One question that comes to my mind is how small of a little flame or spark from the fireworks could cause a big fire or something potentially hazardous. Maybe for smokers who just simply throw their cigarettes on the ground, would that probably cause something more major?
Definitely, especially with the current situation with the dryness outside, a cigarette can easily start a fire, a grass fire, or even a spark from a firework or from a fire pit. So again, anything it doesn't take much, right? Especially when things are still dry. So again, taking that into precaution when we are utilizing those items.
Okay. I believe those were all my questions. Thank you so much for letting me kind of help inform the community about what to do and what not to do. Like you mentioned, I think it is very important that if you are lighting up fireworks to have a bucket or have your hose ready to go just in case. And like you mentioned, just one small little thing could cause a fire and, you know, see a lot of negative effects in our community. So I do appreciate you so much for letting us know about this information. Where is the best place that the community can kind of be up to date with everything that's going on here?
Yeah, lots of different places. I would say first with the weather forecast, going to the National Weather Service, Grand Rapids office page. The other for the air quality, it's going to be airnow.gov. Then anything in regards to staying safe with fireworks. The city's been pushing out lots of information on social media. And I believe we put out a press release earlier this week in regards to how we can stay safe through the holiday weekend.
Okay. Thank you so much. For those that are going to be celebrating the 4th of July, we do hope that you guys celebrate it with fun, with family, but also stay safe and always be alert about what's going to be happening outside with our air quality and just taking those extra precautions for this weekend. For more interviews in English and Spanish, you can visit El Vocero Hispano TV on YouTube. You can follow our Facebook at El Vocero Hispano and our website at elvocerohispanous.com.